Good morning, everyone. How are we doing today? And we're here for this week's edition of Contracting Chatter or Contractors Chatter. I am your host, Luciana Turner, and we're talking about navigating the executive orders. How are you doing this morning? Excuse me. Every time you go to talk, your throat just wants to clog up. But we're not going to let that stop us this morning. Here we go. How are you doing this morning? So, as we prepare for the weekend, I just wanted to kind of talk about the executive orders and what's going on and how they affect government contractors. Excuse me. Now, there's been a lot of talk around the industry and then on the media and different places around all of the executive orders that President Trump has issued. And quite frankly, he's issued over 50 executive orders since he entered office January 20th. However, we're only talking about the ones that affect government contractors. Those are the ones we're talking about this morning. So, and there's this anxiousness in the industry. And as I said on Wednesday, it's time for those of us who work in the industry to begin to dominate the conversation. So that's what we're doing this morning. Now, in my research, all of the executive orders to some degree affect, impact, influence government contractors because government contractors are businesses. Keep that in mind. All government contractors are businesses. However, there are three that affect us a little more than the others. So let's talk about those a little bit. The first one is what he entitled the Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunities. Now, this one was issued January 21st, and it was a rescission of Executive Order 11246. Now, that was the affirmative action executive order that mandated hiring based on it was supposed to be to regain equity in certain positions. I remember having a conversation with someone in HR concerning that executive order. And they basically couldn't even move forward with positions unless they had a certain number of applications that were represented certain races. I'm going to just say it. So if they had a position open and they didn't have enough African American, Asians, or whatever, they couldn't move forward with their requisition. And that left a lot of positions unfilled. This is what I was told by certain people in recruiting and HR. So his executive order basically does away with that. Now, I'm of mixed opinion of this, but this is not about my opinion. This is about how you deal with this. So if you don't want to do the, so how do we deal with the executive order? Simply put, you still operate in integrity within your company. It is just that. How are you dealing with hiring in your company now? Are you hiring based upon race, or are you hiring based upon merit? If you want to do blind hiring, remove that question off of your application altogether. That is the way you truly get to equity in hiring. I really think a lot of this upheaval, the better way to absolve all of this would have been to come up with some kind of blind coding. Now, HR people, recruiting people, chime in. I'm not sure. I'm just shooting a breeze here. So when I submit my application, instead of you seeing my name, because people say they make assumptions based off of names, because I know I went to an interview and they assumed that I was an Italian woman, and I'm not. But instead of you seeing my name, I'm given a candidate number. And all you know is candidate number, blah, 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 have these skills. You don't see my name until you get to the point where you're scheduling appointments. If you really want to just hire merit based, that's one way you can get around it. Now, I know that may create some problems to me. That's an IT prompt that when the applications come in, you say name this, gets a candidate number this, and the candidate number doesn't appear until later on in the process. I don't know. However, that is one executive order that directly affects us, because there was a report that the larger contractors had to submit to the federal government, and that was the EEOC report. Now, because of this executive order, do we still have to submit the report? I don't know. It seems a moot point if this executive order get overrode the previous one. I personally would like to see contractors have an honest conversation around what that's going to look like in the industry, how we're going to ensure that we maintain real progress, and what the whole program was about in the first place. You can't legislate morality. You can't legislate opportunities. All you can do is ask people to look at themselves and determine how are you selecting your candidates, and to go on from there. That's all you can do. Now, the next executive order that directly affects government contractor was the establishment of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, as it's become known. Now, I talked about this indirectly on Wednesday during my podcast, Contractors Conversation. And I've mentioned that there's already been government oversight. However, the oversight has been at the contractor level. And quite frankly, it's difficult at best to audit every government contractor. So I believe I actually think DOGE is a good idea. I know that's an unpopular opinion. I think Doge is a good idea. I don't understand the upheaval behind it. I don't understand why people are against it. I don't know if it was. I actually don't think. I don't think Elon Musk should be running it. However, I don't think the idea of having a Department of Government Efficiency is wrong. I actually believe that the some of the contracts that have been reviewed so far have been wasteful. Now, I'm speaking as a taxpayer, has been wasteful. They don't impact the taxpayer at all. Now, as a government contractor who's lost those contracts, what do? You pivot. It's just simple. You have the same program. You offer the same program somewhere else. Instead of offering the program in South Africa, instead of offering the program in Afghanistan, instead of offering the program in Iraq, you can offer the same program here in America where the same services are needed. Well, a couple of those programs really just need to go away because they weren't needed. But you can offer the same programs here in America, still have the same contract dollars, and keep moving. A lot of this is about, as I said Wednesday, waste. It's not necessarily illegal, but you're tap dancing on that line of immoral and unethical. So I don't think Doge was a bad thing. I just think necessarily believe that the implementation of it was I don't even think it was implemented badly. I just believe that the contracts that were canceled, those dollars can then be refunded and are being refunded in other ways. And those who are affected, if you're smart, you would pivot, rebrand those programs that you were offering, offer them in areas that will greatly and directly impact the U.S. taxpayer, and you will see those funds, you will see your programs refunded, and we keep moving. I'm not even going to touch on the DEI aspect of the program because DEI has always been controversial. There wasn't a way to actually measure the metrics. And as I said previously, you can't legislate morality. And how do you, well, it goes into the third executive order that he signed on January 21st, the revocation of affirmative action requirements for federal contractors. You can't legislate morality. You can't. So, and I've always believed this point. We are fighting, or we're at a crossroads in our society as a whole. And in our society, I'm sorry, I don't know why my screen keeps going blank. There we go. In our society, we're not fighting overt racism for the most part. We're fighting racist ideology. We're fighting the ideology someone obtain a position just because they are X, Y, and Z. And you can't legislate that away. You can't write a law and make people magically believe this person is skilled and qualified. I know I've been questioned about my qualifications simply because I'm a woman, simply because I'm a Black woman. And no legislation will ever change the mindset of that person. We're battling a mindset, a perception, and the laws aren't helping that mindset or that perception. So that's where I stand on the law. What can government contractors do? Government contractors can look at their core values. Simply put, what are your core values as a company? What are your core values as an individual? You can look for the little foxes and the little snares in your thought process. Why do you instantly think or believe anything about anyone or any situation? Why is your first thought is that this must be true or that must be true? Where's that thought rooted? And then have the first honest conversation with yourself. Because however you steer yourself is how you steer your decisions and how you're steering your company. And if it's not your company, your department as a decision maker. At this point in the year of our Lord 2025, we're facing an ideological battle. And this is an opinion. I'm afraid people are so busy taking sides, they're not thinking. When you stand, there's a creator I follow on TikTok of all places who said, when you stand on principles, you never fall. And I think we all need to revisit the principles we stand on. And when I say principles, I mean this. When you stand on your principles of this is how we operate, this is how I make my decisions, this is how I see the world. And we often need to reevaluate where those principles come from and reevaluate how we are seeing and envisioning and imagining all these things and not trying to be a savior or an ally, but just being a decent human being, because we are all going through this life having the same experiences. And once we realize that, we can move forward. Excuse me. We will see a shifting in the dynamics of the world and in our businesses and how we operate. And these conversations, which quite frankly are ridiculous, about these legislations will turn to something more important. Do I care that these rules are going away? No. Flat foot out, no. Do I care that there's a mechanism for redress of mistreatment of people because they just so happen to be? Yes. And they are two different things. And I believe we're getting caught up in the noise. So this is my solution for government contractors who are sitting here, or businesses, period, who are re-implementing programs you know are wasteful, are showing no returns, that really it's just a whole lot of fluff and puff that make people feel good but aren't making any impact. That's creating extra work. As I saw a think piece the other day on LinkedIn, they're creating extra work for people that are doing the work, but are managed by people who are oblivious to the everyday life. Have the real conversations. Stop thinking everything is taboo and off the table. And when you have these conversations, have them genuinely listen to what's being said, digest it before you respond. And I'm going to tell you how I know people are not listening to what's being said. Because as soon as the person stops talking, you instantly start talking. You couldn't have digested anything I said because you're speaking. You couldn't have been listening to what I was saying because you were developing a response. You have to sit and listen to what was being said during that time. That's the whole point. The mindset is what matters, not the laws, You can't legislate morality. And that's it. That's all. I'm going to continue to have these conversations in and out about the executive orders. However, I'm going to shift the direction of the conversations because, quite frankly, I realize I've gotten caught up in the noise as well. Excuse me. I've gotten caught up in the noise as well. And I'm going back to how government contractors can see opportunities everywhere. The president has issued an executive order declaring a state of emergency at the border. If you are a security firm, you should be looking at doing and bidding on contracts regarding security at the border. If you're a humanitarian firm, you should be trying to offer services at the border. If that is your heart, stop complaining and just position yourself to be the solution. You have a heart for these people who walk through the desert to come to this country, then walk yourself down there and work hand in hand with the Border Patrol providing comfort and aid while they sit in the midst to either be sent back, being processed in, go to the other side of the border legally. There's ways to legally do that and help them do the process the right way. We're intermingling conversations, and as business owners and decision makers, we should be able to untangle this. That's what I have to say this morning about the executive orders. We're still going to have these conversations because there's some more executive orders coming out. There's a lot of things being revealed in Congress and in Senate in some of the hearings. There are new rules coming out. They're evaluating a lot of the certification programs. And to those of you who want to get certified, my associate went to one of the programs meetings that they had here yesterday. I live here in Charlotte. And one of the things that she was telling me when she gave me the debrief, it's something I've been hearing from years and years and years. Everybody wants the contracts, but have you built your capacity? For my larger companies, for my companies who are stable and sustainable, who are looking for ways to expand their base, you want to grow your revenue 5%. I'm telling you, government contracts are the way. Let's book that consultation, and I can show you how you can implement government contracting is another line of revenue. She talked about one person who said they have a $2 million backlog, but the companies that are approaching them do not have the capacity to help fulfill it. And to those of you who are listening to me who are smaller entities, smaller companies, don't be intimidated. And I'm even go here. Don't be discouraged when you go through the rough spots. Everybody assumes scaling is this period where you just take off like a rocket and you just do this exponential growth. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen, because it does. But it's also where you hit bumps in the road. It's also where you can have $10,000 in your account on Monday, and Wednesday you have $10. You have to plan for every eventuality during the scaling period. And you have to hang in there. And there's just times that you can't plan for everything. You can't see everything. That's where you have to attempt to monitor the unseen, but there's sometimes you just can't see everything coming. But what you can do It's just keep plugging at it, keep pushing at it, and when your first scale is finished, you'll have a product that you're a business that you're excited about. You've delivered a product that you're proud of, and you have satisfied clients. So with that, chatter is out for this week. I'll see you next Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I went live a little late today. I have some RFPs to write. So I'm hunkering down, turning off the phones, closing the emails, getting focused. If you wish to contact me, drop me a line and I'll talk to you on Monday because I'm not responding to anybody today. And I'll see you on Monday for what's new at LT&A. Have an amazing weekend, and remember, a stressed mind will never create. So whatever is stressing you, walk away from it for a while, and you'll find your answer in the peace. Get some rest this weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.